going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here to talk to you about Crown Jewel 2023. I really liked this show. Give it a beat, give it a beat, give it a beat. All the people that are now going to angrily click off this video have now clicked off, and the rest of you that actually want to hear what I have to say are still here. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I took way more notes than I thought I was going to. Thought it was going to be a quick jot note of this match happened, this guy won, this match happened, this guy won, moving on, moving forward. But it wasn't. The winners were more or less predictable, I will say that, but it gave us a lot to talk about. The show looked very different. It was in an arena, not a stadium, so the crowd was noticeably smaller. The Titantron area was a whole fuckload bigger than what I remember anything in a small arena being. Maybe that's just me, maybe I'm just losing my mind a little bit, but let's talk about the elephant, or should I say, the big fucking jewel in the room. Now, they've done it for WrestleMania before, where they have some sort of big shape in the middle with LEDs on it, and it's got everybody's entrance stuff on it. And it's in the shape of a jewel, because WWE doesn't know subtlety. But you know what? In all seriousness, it kind of looked cool. Now, because it's a diamond shape, it did distort some of the images of some of the people's entrance things. The mask on the Rey Mysterio mask that they had up on the thing looked like some sort of evil cartoon. Drew McIntyre's sword was clearly a bent sword as it was going around the angles of the jewel, and I'm probably the only one that cares about shit like that, but I found it to be really funny. The kickoff basically did what it said on the tin. It was a really good match between Sami Zayn and JD McDonough. There was a monkey flip by Sami Zayn that looked like it was a botch because JD McDonough kind of went head and neck and shoulder first into that sort of space between the ropes, and it looked like it could have ended really badly, and it didn't, so I'm happy about that. Everything else, once you realize that somebody maybe, sorta, maybe could have gotten hurt, and they didn't, the rest of the match is just, hey, I'm really glad they didn't get hurt. Let's just talk about the fact that for a split second, Sami Zayn won with the Blue Thunder Bomb. And I think he won with the Blue Thunder Bomb in some other major match recently, but it bears repeating because Sami Zayn absolutely never wins with the Blue Thunder Bomb. If you are a follower of Simon Miller, and he does, you know, the most dangerous move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and then he says, now he's started saying, for Sami Zayn, the least devastating move of all entertainment is the Blue Thunder Bomb. Did they win? Absolutely not, because it's the Blue Thunder Bomb, but Sami Zayn won with the Blue Thunder Bomb. So that's a thing. This is the beginning of a show-long story that I really like. But as I said on the preview, if Sami Zayn's goal is going to be to fuck with the Judgment Day, you start at the bottom. And what you do when you start at the bottom is you start at with the guy that's only sorta, kinda in the match. Now, Sami Zayn, once again, now this is cultural stuff that I'm not fluent with, so I'm not going to say anything, but he came out in whatever that white robe that he was wearing signifies, and obviously it means something to him. As I say, I'm going to tap dance around it because I'm not familiar with the context and I don't want to offend anybody, believe it or not, but that's really cool. Seems like it means a lot to him. It means a lot to him to be at the Saudi show. I talked a lot about that in the preview as well, so generally, as soon as the guy's out on stage, I'm already happy for him. The match is almost secondary, and it's kind of cool as somebody who likes JD McDonough to see him kind of get a cool match against a cool opponent at a big show. And yes, I'm going to say it once again, whether you like them or not, the Saudi shows are big shows. Let's go into the first match of the night. Now, immediately I thought this was kind of a bummer that we started off with Seth versus Drew for the world title, because it almost flagpoled that there wasn't going to be a cash-in. If there was going to be a cash-in, then the idea being, you know, have the Damian Priest match first, get it out of the way, get him out of everybody's minds, so it's a surprise when he comes out again, but the title match comes out first. There's no way Damian Priest is going to cash in and then have his match later on, is there? ... Anyways, Drew McIntyre seems to be really over in Saudi Arabia, which is kind of cool, even though he's in the middle of a heel turn. I don't know, I think they're just happy to see people because they only get to see them twice a year, and that's absolutely fine. I will double down on the idea that whatever you think of the Saudi Arabian government and all the political, social stuff that goes into that, the people in the building are there because they want to see wrestling, which makes them no different than you or me. Come and fight with me, you'll be arguing with a wall. very, very predictable double story going on here. The story is Drew McIntyre clearly has a strength and power advantage as well as a size advantage, and Rollins has a fucked up back. Commentary mentioned nice and early that Rhea Ripley on social media had wished both of these boys good luck. As we know, the story going in was that Rhea Ripley had offered the help of the Judgment Day to both of these guys, and neither one of them took them up on it, or did they? That was the story going forward. Seth Rollins sold his back like crazy. Everything hurt. Everything looked like it hurt. He got one burst of energy, one burst of adrenaline to get a springboard swanton lion salt sequence in there. The Future Shock doesn't get the win for Drew McIntyre. He sells the frustration. He gets him outside and hits him a spinebuster on the steps. Sidewalk slam from the steps to the apron. A Glasgow kiss. A pedigree gets a near fall for Seth Rollins out of desperation. The Claymore is stopped with a super kick, and that leads to a curb stomp, and that gets a near fall. A Claymore, I can speak, I swear, gets a near fall as well, but another desperation pedigree and a curb stomp, and Seth Rollins gets the win. Seth Rollins looked better than he has in a long time in this match. Now, that's hard to say because for the past however long since he's had the rivalry with Nakamura, he's been selling the bad back, so he's had to walk around like a broken person. But this was really cool. And it wasn't just, as we're going to talk about later on, trust me, it wasn't just, oh, my back hurts, my back hurts, my back hurts, but I've got to do this cool thing, and then I'll go back to my back hurting. He, like I said, he got that adrenaline spot where he did the springboard swanton and then followed it up with a lion salt, but he sold it like a last gasp. He sold it like, I'm going to do this and it's going to suck ass when I hit it, which is good. Priest comes out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. He's arguing with the referee. They do that thing where the Money in the Bank person argues with the referee forever to sort of give you an angle alert that this cash-in isn't actually happening. He's attacked by a person in a black hoodie, and the person in the black hoodie seems to be Sami Zayn, who takes away the briefcase. I think he hits him with the briefcase, but then here's the key point in all of this. Sami Zayn escapes through the crowd, so he gets to show up twice on the show. He gets to experience that crowd twice on the same show. But more importantly, he leaves with the briefcase. Now, this opened up a really awesome opportunity that WWE didn't utilize, but it would have been really cool. They pan to Rollins really quickly as Sami Zayn is leaving, and he's sort of got this, oh, thank fuck, look on his face. And when they cut to the back after a commercial break, they see Drew McIntyre just kind of sitting there. Rhea Ripley comes by looking sarcastic as hell and kind of shrugs at him and walks away. I thought that was really neat as well. But it was because her match was next. It was the fatal 5-way match for the Raw, or should I say the WWE Women's World Championship. I love the fact that people that want to shit on WWE, every time there's a title now, there's 2 world titles on Raw, there's 2 WWE titles on SmackDown. Io Sky is the WWE Women's Champion. Roman is the WWE, yes, they throw in the word Universal in there, but he's the WWE Champion. On Raw, Seth Rollins is the World Champion, and Ripley is the the Women's World Champion. And they say, oh, the Women's WWE World, oh, you know, whatever they're calling it this week. It's like they changed it over. They told you exactly what it was. You're just being a dick. It's fine. Battle of the Giants, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, whatever you want to call this match. Rhea Ripley had a really cool entrance, although I don't really know what it was, because you had some low sort of stringy music while people in what I'm only guessing is Saudi Arabia garb came out with candles and sort of lined the aisleway one at a time. I don't want to say druids, but they basically were taking the druid pose from when Undertaker would have the druids at, say, like a WrestleMania, and then she just had her regular entrance. Now, everybody, and I want to say this, for all the women, yes, there is an issue that keeps on going. They have to get special gear for the Saudi Arabia shows because they have to be covered up, and do I agree with that? No, but does it lend itself to some really cool attires and some really cool ring gear choices? Absolutely. Zoe Stark was out there in basically a shirt and pants like she was going to a street fight. Shayna Baszler was out there in her karate gear, much like Ronda Rousey was the last time Ronda Rousey was in a Saudi show. Raquel Rodriguez and even Nia Jax had like extended, like long sleeve versions of their ring gear. Rhea Ripley always looks fucking awesome with her gear. Anyway, she had the really, really messed up hair, and the purple face paint that she had going on made her look like the fucking Crow. And don't get me wrong, and I'm talking about I'm not talking about all the sequels. I'm not talking about the TV show that failed. I'm talking about the original Brandon Lee Crow movie is one of my favorite movies ever. You guys know I like creepy, fucked up shit. And The Crow is creepy, fucked up, and sad. So, if you're gonna mimic something, mimic The Crow. I mean, Sting made a career out of it. Oh. But anyway, she had a cool entrance, she had a cool look, and then we get into this absolute monsters ball of a match. And yes, I'm gonna reference Monsters Ball, because TNA is coming back soon. And, I should say this now, actually. Before TNA becomes TNA again, they're doing Final Resolution, which is the last pay-per-view under the Impact Wrestling banner. It's happening, it's being advertised as happening in Toronto. It's not, it's actually happening in Mississauga. It's actually happening at the Don Kolov Arena, and if you've heard me talk about the Don Kolov Arena, that is the home of Destiny. Oh yes, check it off your fucking Spaz Phoenix bucket list. And I'm going to a Destiny show the weekend before, I'm going to that show, and I'm going to a WWE Holiday House show in actual Toronto, all in the span of December. So December is going to be a really good month for me, which is awesome. Match starts off, there's a really cool, like, everybody fights for a pin sequence that goes on for quite a while, except Nia Jax, who bails out to the ring and talks to commentary about her hair, which is nice. Jax comes in momentarily and it gets tossed out by Baszler. Baszler tossing around Nia Jax actually looked kind of cool. But once it's back to 4 again, we sort of get the pair off as you do in a multi-person match. Raquel's brawling with Baszler, Ripley is brawling with Zoe, and then when they all fall away, they spend a lot of time focusing on Ripley and Nia, and we're going to get this at a Big 4 pay-per-view, aren't we? I don't want this match. I really don't want this match. I just don't. If we're gonna get it in Survivor Series, if we're gonna get it at the Royal Rumble, if this is the match, if we get this as a singles match, and this is what Rhea Ripley has to do when we go to her home country of Australia for the Elimination Chamber, that's some bullshit. Now, you guys know I've been pushing Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley should be a match at WrestleMania. If we're not going to do it there, because I think the match is awesome, and yes, it has historical significance to me being an NXT fan, if you're not going to do it there, do that match in Australia. Don't put Rhea Ripley in the Elimination Chamber. Rhea Ripley should have Rhea Ripley with the title should have a straight line from now until WrestleMania. I'm sorry, she just should. But if you're not going to do Baszler, if you're not going to give Baszler the Rumble and give Baszler the Ripley match at Mania, give us Ripley Baszler at the Elimination Chamber in Perth. Yeah, I know I'm going to have to get up at 6 in the morning to watch it, but that'll actually give me a reason to get up at 6 in the morning to watch it. Too much focus on Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. That's where I left off in my notes. My notes are friggin' terrible. Oh, yes. Took notes while I was eating lunch, because that's what time of day this happened. Baszler had a really cool spot where she got Ripley in an Indian Deathlock and got Raquel in an Indian Deathlock and had Nia Jax in a choke all at the same time. And right as commentary pointed out, hey, this is really awesome, but Shayna Baszler's running out of limbs, here comes Zoe Stark to play spoiler and break up the entire submission pile. They did a Tower of Doom spot with basically everybody but Nia Jax, with Zoe Stark on top and taking the biggest bump. There was a slugfest between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez, where commentary went out of their way to mention the fact that the last time these ladies fought in NXT was a false count anywhere or last man standing? It was last woman standing in NXT, and I think that was what it was right before Rhea Ripley came to the main roster. So that's a nice, neat little bit of trivia that I had forgotten. They all brawl out to the floor. Zoe Stark comes off the top rope onto everybody on the floor. Baszler puts the clutch on Ripley. Ripley breaks out of it and hits the Riptide. And then she goes up to the second rope with Zoe Stark. She takes Zoe Stark into a second rope Riptide, but she lands the second rope Riptide onto Raquel and Baszler, and then pins Baszler because Baszler's on the bottom of the pile to get the win. Now, first of all, that's awesome. That's one more body than the stack 'em, pin 'em, whatever thing that Roman Reigns did against Daniel Bryan and Edge. Now Bryan Danielson and Adam Copeland, because just WWE wrestlers are better than AEW wrestlers. It's fine. What makes me nervous, and what underscores the fact that they're going to do Ripley Jax as a singles match, is Nia Jax was the only one not involved in that pin. And if you think that doesn't matter, you're not paying attention, are you? The match itself was awesome. The match was big bombs, big combo spots, big you pair off with you pair off with you, and then we're all going to run at each other, which is absolutely fine. It was what I wanted it to be. It was what it said on the tin. And to use my Godzilla reference, yes, I'm going to now start referring to Rhea Ripley as the Queen of the Monsters. Because she is, and because she's awesome. A little less awesome, and predictably so, was Solo Sikoa versus John Cena. I've got it in my notes that John Cena targets the thumb. Because it sounds funny. Realistically, the story is he doesn't want to get Samoan spiked because he got Samoan spiked 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, and he came out and cut his promo in a raspy voice and told Solo Sikoa that he looks like Discount Taz, which got an ooh and an ah from everybody. But he targets the thumb. Basically means he's trying to keep him from doing the Samoan spike. So he targets the hand, he targets the wrist, he targets the elbow, the shoulder, basically everything on that limb. But it sounds a lot funnier to say John Cena targets the thumb, does it not? Otherwise, it's a pretty normal match. Cena lies down for a lot of Solo's signature maneuvers, all the different slams, all the different headbutts, all the different hip attacks in the corner. I think it's funny that it's a devastating looking hip attack in the corner, and they say, oh, it's a tribute to Rikishi, who just rubbed his bum in people's face. I get the family thing, I get that they're trying to create it as this nice thing where he's paying homage and whatever, but if Rikishi had done what Solo Sikoa did, people would be dead. Like, it's just true. Eventually, we hit the switch in the match where Cena hits the 5 moves of doom. 5 moves of doom don't work, so John Cena uses a choke slam? ... question mark. It's fine. Solo, who's selling the hand, he's selling the thumb. I don't care how funny it sounds, that's what he's doing. But he comes off the ropes for a Samoan spike and hurts his own hand. Goes for a pin, doesn't work. Second Samoan spike. Third Samoan spike. Fourth Samoan spike takes down John Cena. He props him up in a sitting position and rapid fire jabs him in the neck with like 5 more Samoan spikes. So basically, John Cena's trachea should be perforated. He gets the pin, he gets the win, and the Saudi crowd gives John Cena a standing ovation, which is absolutely awesome. Now, the match itself was nothing to write home about. In all honesty, it's what you would expect from Solo Sikoa, and it's what you would expect from John Cena. John Cena really selling being upset about this guy who's questioning whether he should really be here anymore, whatever. He hasn't had a win in 2007 days or whatever it is now. It's a little over the top, it's a little melodramatic. The whole rapid fire spikes at the end was bordering on funny. It was still awesome. It still looked kick-ass, but it was that sort of like bordering into, is this really, really badass, or is it Eddie Kingston cartoon character territory? And they stayed just the right side of the line, but they got pretty damn close, and that's something to keep an eye on. All of my criticism aside, this is an awesome thing for Solo Sikoa, and pretty cool of John Cena to put him over. And I know John Cena's only here because of the actor stuff and the Hollywood stuff and all that type of thing that I'm not going to delve into. And yes, if none of that happened, would he be here? Probably not. But it's still cool. The people that like him can still like him. He's definitely not the same John Cena that I did Cenapocalypse on all those years ago. And you guys still love that video because I still get comments on it. This, again, I hate to keep going back to it. This didn't set the world on fire. It did what it was supposed to do. It did what it said on the tin, and that's absolutely fine. You know what isn't what was written on the tin, because we never got told this was happening. We got told that Grayson Waller may or may not be doing something in Saudi, but that was about it. So when Miz came out to do Miz TV, and he was interviewing, I should say, some famous comedic actor in Saudi Arabia whose name is Ibrahim Al-Hajij. I really butchered that. I'm really sorry. And they seem to have some like positive back and forth before they're interrupted by Grayson Waller, who turns it into the Grayson Waller effect by getting rid of the chairs and putting up some fake plants, which is nice. The actor in question, whose name I'm not going to say again because I don't want to butcher it again, joins The Miz in making fun of Grayson Waller. So, solidifying The Miz? Babyface turn? So what's happened is basically Miz wanted to shut up Grayson Waller because that's normally what somebody would do on the Grayson Waller effect if he had a babyface on there. But Miz went to do this thing. He goes for the skull-crushing finale. but this Ibrahim Al-Hajij was standing on the outside of the ring, and he brought his foot up. So basically, Miz skull-crushing finale'd him into this guy's boot, caught him, hit him with a proper skull-crushing finale, and then this guy sort of rolled up his robe that he was wearing and ran the ropes and did the worst people's elbow in captivity, but everybody liked it, and he stood tall, raising hands with The Miz, leading us to further rumors, further speculation, and whatever, that The Miz is going to be a babyface. Now, I'm all for this. I'm a big supporter of The Miz. I think what Miz contributes to the WWE is always doomed to go critically, like, underappreciated. It really is. Guys like him, guys like Ziggler, guys like Baron Corbin, ladies like Natalya, who just go out there, make themselves goofballs, and get et up so that the person being pushed at the time can be pushed at the time. You need those people. And Miz is probably one of the greatest. Apparently, for all reports that I've ever seen, apparently he's like a pretty kick-ass dude in real life. So that makes me happy. And the guy's living his good life. Everybody's like, oh, he thinks he's so cool because he's got a hot wife. I'm like, okay, he's got a good life and you're trying to use that against him. He's making a living doing what he'd like to do. He has a wife, he has kids that he's very happy and very proud of. I'm not seeing what you're seeing unless what you're seeing is jealousy. And that's a you thing. That is really a you thing. It's kind of like, in general, right? NXT was bad for a while in the 2.0 era. It was kind of shit. You guys know I stopped reviewing it week to week when it became 2.0 because that was a step too far. But people got mad when it stopped being 2.0 and started coming to sort of like a middle ground. And they got mad because they were not going to be able to make fun of it as much anymore. Now, here's what I'm going to say about this, and here's what I say about all of WWE. If you hate WWE because it sucks, then that's a problem with WWE. Fair enough. If you hate WWE because it's good, that's a you problem. If you're upset that WWE is getting better, that's a you problem. That's some biases you need to look at in your own head. And the same can be held true for people like The Miz, people like Baron Corbin, people like Natalya, people like Dolph Ziggler, although he's not in the company anymore, sadly. People like Charlotte Flair, who people still deny are one of the best talents that women's division has ever had. If you're upset that they're good, that's a you problem. That's it. And no, Miz is not a 5-star wrestler, but he serves his exact purpose as good as anybody else in WWE serves their exact purpose. Speaking of serving an exact purpose, you know who serves an exact purpose is Logan Paul. Logan Paul gets a lot of attention for the WWE, and WWE gave him a shot at Rey Mysterio in the United States Championship. That was a hell of a transition. Look at me go. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Logan Paul gets a cool entrance. He drives from the desert to the arena on some sort of weird four-wheeler Jeep thing, which is fine. In the early going, it's as fun as you think it is. The size difference is a big part of the story. The speed is a big part of the story because Rey Mysterio, much as we love him, much as, you know, in his later career I have respected him because he used to drive me nuts, the guy can go. But the guy is not Rey Mysterio of Halloween Havoc 97 era either. So it's funny that at various points in here, the bigger, taller, more lanky guy had a couple moments in this match where he was also the faster guy, which was fine. The other thing I wanted to say about this, and I've said it before in various other ways, but I'm going to say it here. Logan Paul is interesting to watch in the wrestling ring because Logan Paul doesn't move like a wrestler. He moves like a wrestler. He doesn't move like somebody who's been a wrestler their whole life. And that's something that somebody who has can't replicate. If you've been wrestling for 20 years, you can't pretend that you're new to it, if that makes any sense. But if you look at some of the ones that have come into WWE that have had martial arts backgrounds or boxing backgrounds, like a Mark Marrow or a Baron Corbin, don't move like typical wrestlers. The MMA fighters like Baszler and Rousey and Brock Lesnar and Matt Riddle don't move like regular wrestlers. I can't put my finger on what it is because I know Logan Paul does all kinds of stuff. I know he does boxing. I know he does some other like sports, like Daredevil type stuff. I don't know what it is about Logan Paul, but he doesn't move like a wrestler, and that makes his matches, that's one of the things that makes his matches really cool. Another thing is that he can pull off wicked stuff like Rhea hitting him with a top rope crossbody, catching him in midair, rolling it through into a deadlift, into a corner Death Valley driver. In one fluid motion. There are wrestlers that have been wrestling for 20 years that would have fucked that up. Now, yes, it's easy because he's doing it with a small guy like Rey Mysterio. I understand that as well. Doesn't mean it didn't look cool. He went into he went into the post shoulder first, like most people do, but he didn't just sort of go get wedged in and say, this is where I am now. He took it on the shoulder and continued to faceplant out of the ring. And even that looked cool. The guy looks cool getting his ass kicked. That's another thing that a lot of wrestlers that have been wrestling for a long time can't pull off. He looks good at what he's doing because he's new and you don't expect him to pull stuff off like he did. Like the stuff that he did with Ricochet, fantastic. Like, don't tell me anything else. What he did with Ricochet at Money in the Bank, what he did with Ricochet in the Royal Rumble. Like, don't tell me that this guy hasn't pulled out stuff that was surprising to you. He does stuff that looks cool because you don't expect it from him, but he also looks cool getting his ass kicked, and that is unique. I'm not telling you have to like the guy. I'm really not, because I know a lot of people bring a lot of outside stuff into, oh, I'm not going to admit he's a good wrestler because I don't like his opinion on YouTube. I mean, hell, if I ever become a wrestler, I'm fucked, aren't I? Moonsault follow-away slam combination from the second rope. And then we get this weird story with the brass knucks, because one of his guys from his show that I'm never going to recognize because I don't watch his show, they come in, they hand him the brass knuckles while nobody's looking. He gets knocked into the corner at the opposite corner of the ring. They get knocked out again. That same guy creeps around the ring. He's about to hand him the brass knucks again, but you see the zoom in on the knucks, you see the zoom in on the guy reaching, and then you see somebody step on his hand. And obviously, it's Santos Escobar who takes the knucks away and chases the guy out of the arena. But before he chases the guy out of the arena, he leaves the knucks on the apron to go follow the guy that he's chasing. And what happens? Logan Paul gets himself down for a 619 position, voluntarily, and this is how it, at least how it came off to me, voluntarily ate the 619 while he was putting his brass knuckles on so that he could turn around, and the second half of that is usually something related to the West Coast Pop, and just knocks Rey Mysterio right out of midair, which looks awesome. I think it's kind of cool, too, that they double down on this, because when they were doing the Saudi show where he fought Roman Reigns, he talked about how he's had all these plates put in his hand, and he's got a titanium fist, and he's got the one-punch knockout and all that. So he's already got an unfair advantage built into his hand. But no, he still needs to make sure that the whole world knows he's a dick, and put some brass knuckles on his titanium hand. That's extra level of you didn't even need to do that, and you snatch Rey Mysterio out of the sky with one punch like he's a small child. And that's really funny. And seeing him get handed the belt and momentarily like take half a second to realize how to hold up the belt or how to even put it over his shoulder, it emphasizes the whole like, hey, even though in real life this guy has put the work in and learned how to wrestle and made himself in pretty much no time a great little in-ring worker for how long he's been doing it. I shouldn't have said little, that sounded condescending. The story is still going to be that he's the outsider. Why is he carrying around our belt? Kind of like Dominic Mysterio carrying the NXT title. Very, very similar stories are going to be told there when when Wesley gets his hands on Dominic Mysterio. The same thing's going to happen here on a larger scale when somebody from the WWE roster fights him for that title to bring it back to WWE in tight air quotes. And I said it on the preview, I say it again now. That person should be LA Knight, because LA Knight versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania is a money match. This was a lot of fun. Rey Mysterio looking heartbroken. Sort of ambiguous as to the involvement of Santos Escobar. Like, he tried to help, but did he really try to help? And they can play with that any way they want. They did what it said on the tin. They did exactly what it needed to do to the highest degree. I had a lot of fun with this. The match, even without the storytelling, even without the brass knuckles, even without Santos Escobar getting involved, even without the titanium fist and all that, like, just watching this as a match for match's sake, this was a fun match. It really was. And seeing him come in on his little, like, dune buggy or whatever and telling off people in traffic, I came all the way here just to get a U.S. title. He's screaming while he's in traffic. It's fun. It's good. And then I breathed a sigh of relief. Because they didn't do what Donnie WWE usually does. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the WWE Women's Championship. Now, I don't have to go over once again the fact that it's ridiculous that Bianca Belair fucked off for a while, decided to come back to work, and immediately got handed a title shot. Don't need to go there, do I? Io Sky's gear is awesome. Looked really cool. Like she had like the baggy pants going on with the straps and all the different neon colors and whatnot. I said very, very Lita-esque. Although Lita had more of a punk aesthetic to it, and this had more of a neon aesthetic to it, but it did have very much of a Lita vibe. And I got crucified on social media for saying that she looked cool. Oh, well, what about Bianca Belair? You know, she does all her own gear and whatever. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. I wasn't praising Io Sky's gear because I think Io Sky made her own gear. I know Io Sky doesn't make her own gear. Here's the ticket. Io Sky doesn't have to make her own gear. I'm saying the gear itself was awesome. Bianca Belair, if we're going to judge her on her gear was some boring-ass head-to-toe leotard bullshit with some lips stuck to it. You give her all the credit, but it wasn't good. What do you want me to say? If you want me to, I will Google who does the gear for WWE, who did the gear this night for Io Sky, and I will give them the credit for Io Sky's awesome gear. But I'm not going to do that here because that would be fucking ridiculous. Bianca Belair does her own gear. Have a golf clap. Make better gear next time, and I'll say that you look as good as Io Sky looked today. What do you want me to say? Io Sky does her absolute best in this match to make an entire story out of injuring Bianca Belair's leg, and Bianca Belair kind of sells it like a cartoon character. Why does she sell it like a cartoon character? Because she doesn't really look like she knows how to sell. And no, just getting really emo and crying a lot like your Cody Rhodes does not equal selling. Why would she not know how to sell? Because you know how to do something when you practice it a lot. And who the fuck does Bianca Belair sell for? Comments down in the box below or hit me up on X at Spaz Phoenix. I dare ya. Bayley distracts on the outside. Belair gets pulled off the top rope by her hair. And I will say, once again, Bianca Belair and the stupid hair whip thing breaks wrestling, and you have to do something really bad to break wrestling because wrestling is goofy as shit. But if she's allowed to use her hair as a weapon, then her hair should be able to be used against her. Fair is as fair does. Moonsault press from the top to the floor by Io Sky because she's fucking amazing. Bayley and Io both collide on the outside. We have heel miscommunication because God forbid anybody ever pin Bianca Belair cleanly. Bayley gets taken out. Io Sky gets back in the ring, and Bianca Belair is attacked by somebody else in another jumpsuit, another very comfortable jumpsuit, another very colorful, I should say, jumpsuit. And it made me really happy because I'm up on my NXT history. Because Io Sky was saved by her old NXT tag team partner. Fucking Kairi Sane's back in WWE, guys. It's fucking good. Kairi Sane looks like she's walking away. Instead, goes to the barricade, does a flying knee off the barricade. Better than Kenny Omega, I would say. And knee shots Bianca Belair's head into the post. Rolls her back in the ring. Io Sky gets the over the moonsault. She retains her championship. And just for funsies, the Pirate Princess, Kairi Sane, hops up into the ring, hops up on the top rope, and hits her with the diving elbow drop that she does better than anybody else. This is fucking awesome. Bianca Belair lost. I would love it if she had lost cleanly, because Io Sky is genuinely better. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and we can't always get what we want. But the interesting story of all of this is, where does Io Sky's loyalty lie now, with her new partner Bayley or her old partner Kairi Sane? Now, they all have a tie to Asuka. How does Asuka factor into this? Because I really, really, really want Kairi Sane, Io Sky, and Asuka to be a team, to be a faction, to be whatever. They could be a babyface faction. They could be the ladies' equivalent of the New Day if they really wanted to. But they're going to be baby faces. Bayley's going to be a heel. Dakota Kai, hopefully she's... I know she was in Saudi Arabia because I've seen her in pictures on social media and whatever, but she wasn't out there for this. I will say, though, however, let's do a count here. Let's do a count here. WWE featured Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, for better or for worse, Zoe Stark, Bianca Belair, for better or for worse, Io Sky, Bayley, and brought back Kairi fucking Sane. That's 9 women. 9 women on a Saudi Arabia show. Tony Khan, are you paying attention yet? Oh no, wait, you're too busy tarping off buildings. I'll leave you alone. It's absolutely fine. In all seriousness, no, I'm really, whatever she does, I'm really jazzed to see Kairi Sane back on our screens, and I'm really glad she's on a different show than Nia Jax, because we all know how that went. Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest did stuff. Priest jumps Cody Rhodes to start the match. Cody comes scraping back like he does as the fighting. I personally find it a little melodramatic, but I will go with the crowd on this one. Cody Rhodes sold the hell. They brawl to the outside, I should say. They brawl back to the inside. They do a bunch of rapid transitions from wrestling in the ring to grappling on the outside and all the amenities that are involved with the outside. I will say, from the minute he came down the ramp and started the match, and he was trying to monster Cody in the early going, Priest is absorbing a lot from Rhea Ripley, and he kind of walks into the ring these days and kind of owns the ring as whatever match I'm in is the main event, and that element in him has been building since Backlash. He's doing for himself what Rhea Ripley has done for herself, and that's why I said on the preview for this show, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley are the leaders of the Judgment Day, which is awesome to think about when you think about one of the other members of that group is Finn fucking Balor. Finn Balor's in his goofy era. I get it. It's fine. I'm enjoying it. He's probably going to leave Judgment Day and team up with JD McDonough, and that'll be fine too. Cause why? Cause it pisses off all the right people. Oh, yes. Cody sells the hell out of his ankle because his name is not Bianca Belair. Out on the commentator table, you get a bell clap and a reckoning on the commentary table, and Michael Cole gives himself an absolute aneurysm explaining to the crowd that the reckoning and the crossroads are the same move, which is fine. Balor comes to ringside to distract... sorry, I can read my writing. I swear, this is terrible. Sorry, guys. Balor comes to ringside to distract both Cody Rhodes and the referee. There's a run-in by JD McDonough on the other side, and a South of Heaven by Priest that gets a near fall. Dom comes down with a chair, and out comes Jey Uso with super kicks for Balor, Dom, and JD, aka super kicks for everybody. Both guys trade some stiff shots. Eventually, Cody Rhodes pulls off 3 crossroads and gets the predictable win. Now, one too many losses for Damian Priest? Absolutely, yes. Still a very good match, and like I said about the other match, the Rhea and Logan match, take out the other people involved near the end. Match for match's sake, this was a lot of fun. Damian Priest sort of coming into his own as a big imposing element, and Cody Rhodes, to his credit, doing all he can to elevate that. Cody Rhodes, everything. Much like Seth Rollins in the first match, everything he did in this ring, he convinced me that everything he was doing was hurting his foot. That's awesome. That's not what Bianca Belair did. It's just not. The fact that she was, you know, oh my god, she's kind of worked on my leg a little, but then I'm going to do some, gorilla presses and shit, and then I'm going to switch on the selling again once that cool move is done and once I've gotten my, Pavlovian pop from the crowd. I will say, though, the story going throughout this is all the bodies that are collecting against the Judgment Day. And I really do like it. And I really do think that modern-day WWE deserves a lot of credit for this. Whether it's Triple H, whether it's the team working under him, whether it's whoever. I'll say it myself. I'm a big defender of WWE. This wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. It wouldn't. It just wouldn't. Sami Zayn wins in the kickoff against JD McDonough. Sami Zayn keeps Damian Priest from cashing in on Seth Rollins. So now Seth Rollins, there's a little bit of gratitude there. Now you've got Cody in this match with Priest, and people from the Judgment Day are fucking with him, and out comes Jey Uso. What does that sound like? As we got beat over the head with War Games ads during this show tonight, what does that sound like? That sounds like JD, Priest, Balor, and Dom versus Cody, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. Do we do that? Do we have Survivor Series go by with Rollins just not defending his title? That's absolutely fine. Rollins, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes is a hell of a team for War Games. It just is. They're advertising it specifically as 5-on-5. So do they throw one more person on there? Do you put Ricochet on the good guys team, and does Judgment Day borrow Jimmy Uso from the Bloodline to make up those numbers and to stir up a little bit of something between Jimmy and Jay? Maybe, but that 4-on-4 would be good enough for me. Let me know what you think down in the box below. The way they laced this story all the way through and just Judgment Day collecting more and more enemies. And the fact that the only member of their group that's really, really hitting their stride right now, especially on this night, was Rhea Ripley, and her success was so far away from all the fuckery, from Damian Priest's loss here, from Damian Priest's failure to cash in and loss of the briefcase, to JD McDonough's loss on the pre-show. The fact that Rhea Ripley's victory over 4 other monsters is a million miles away from what's happening to the rest of the group and how the rest of the group is falling apart is brilliant. I don't know what else you want me to say. I really don't. Main event. Let me just say something. If you didn't know this already, LA Knight's over as hell. This is more character than in-ring work. It was these guys beating the crap out of each other. Let's be real for a second. A couple near falls that, if I wasn't thinking about it, a couple near falls that I might have bitten on. Maybe, perhaps. But what do you want me to say? Cut and paste from the last little while. Solo gets involved. Jimmy gets involved. LA Knight thinks he's going to take out the help on the outside. Paul Heyman tried to jump up on the apron for a distraction at some point, and that was... He looked like he was about to fall on his face, and I don't want to see that happen. I respect the hell out of Paul Heyman. I really do. There's no one... I say this about guys like Grayson Waller. I say this about guys like The Miz, who will never get the credit they deserve. But when it comes to, I'm willing to make myself look like an absolute twat for the betterment of the story, for the betterment of the match, for the betterment of the kayfabe in general. Fuck, who does it better than Paul Heyman? He really does. The fact that, like, when Roman Reigns was gone, he stopped dyeing his hair went white, and he wasn't shaving, and he looked all out of sorts and whatever. I expected him to walk into SmackDown one day with the old ECW hat on his head, just hiding from people. He's really good. Of course Roman Reigns got the win. Of course he did. That's almost irrelevant. The LA Knight signs in the crowd that were both in... they were both in English and in... Again, I'm ignorant. Whatever they speak in Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry to be offensive or blunt like that, but the sea of LA Knight signs in the crowd was like, oh, well, they must have had them under the chairs already. Well, yeah, the same thing was true for the Cesaro section, and that was awesome too, so fuck off. It was a cool moment for LA Knight. He was received as a main eventer in the main event of a big show, and once again, I will say, I know you guys don't like the Saudi shows, I understand, I empathize with you guys, but it doesn't change the fact that they are big shows. And LA Knight was going up against the biggest name in the company. You can like other people in the WWE, but by every measurable metric, Roman Reigns is the biggest guy in the company. And LA Knight didn't look a spit out of place, which is awesome for him. And the reception for him will continue. The sympathy for him getting screwed out of his big shot at the big world title will go on. LA Knight has to do one of two things. Actually, now that I think of it. LA Knight has to go for the United States Championship now that Logan Paul has it, or he has to win the Rumble and go after Seth Rollins. Those are the only two trails for him. Apparently, and this is going to suck more because next year there's more international shows, apparently Gunther can't leave the US for some sort of, like, work visa reason or whatever. I didn't look into the specifics of it, because the specifics of it don't matter, and they're really none of our business. But if they're going to do this many more international shows, if they're doing, like I say, Berlin and Perth and possibly Paris, and they might be going back to the UK again, and they'll be doing 2 more Saudi shows, that's 6 shows next year that your Intercontinental Championship holder can't go to. I really hope that that doesn't mean that they'll take it off of him, because they've gotten really good at not putting every title on every show and giving us a really cool title match the week before or a really cool title match the week after. I hope they can maintain him using a method like that, but I don't want to see Gunther lose his Intercontinental Championship because of stupid visa shit, because that's kind of shit. I don't know how I got onto the Gunther thing, but yeah, LA Knight's not going to go for Gunther. If he stays on SmackDown, he's going to go for the US Championship. Like I said, like I've said, at the risk of sounding repetitive now, LA Knight versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania would kick ass. But if you want to go the other way, the only way he goes the other way is if he wins the Royal Rumble. And if he wins the Royal Rumble, he's going after... Nobody's going to win the Royal Rumble and use that to go after the Intercontinental Championship. They're just not. So if they use the Rumble to get him onto Raw, that means he's facing Seth Rollins, and that would be a lot of fun too. It really would. There's a lot of good shit here. The biggest things that I will take away from this: Logan Paul is the United States champion. Rhea Ripley is a fucking monster. And KAIRI Sane's back in WWE, which is fucking awesome. The show was great. The context of the show, you guys know I'm setting it aside. If that makes you upset, I'm sorry. I really like this show. This show made me look forward to Raw. This show made me look forward to SmackDown. So one more time, I'm going to say that as a pay-per-view or a PLE, it did what it's supposed to do, and it did what it said on the tin. Call me a creature of simple habit. I really, really don't care. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out.